My goodness, this episode. What's your story with Scott Leese, Mike Lindstrom, Dave Scatchard, Scatch, as his friends call him, former NHL great, played 13, 14 years in the NHL, tells us, sits on the chair with us for an hour and tells us some crazy stories about how his career ended, how he overcame addiction, mental health. He's got an incredible story of attending a Tony Robbins seminar where he had life-changing events, transformation, literally had Scott and I practically in tears having us tell a very private story. That's one thing that Scott and I love about our podcast is bringing out the authenticity of people. And let me tell you, Dave brought the authenticity in this podcast. You love athletes, you love people who overcome mental health, addiction. You're an NHL fan. This is a must see. Dave Scatchard, tune in, enjoy. Hey everyone, Mike Lindstrom. What's your story? Next episode, my man, my co-host, Scott Leese.
What's up?
You know what we got on today?
I do.
We've mixing it up today. We've got some athletes the last few days we've been talking to. We haven't had NHL though, NHL.
No, first hockey
We're
player.
talking some hockey, had some football, some baseball. So we're going to mix up as hockey. So I'm excited because the person we're bringing on is not only a notable person in our industry, peak performance coaching, had a very, very remarkable career in the NHL, but he's a friend of mine here in the Valley. I love bringing on my friends from Arizona to talk about what they're doing, not only as parents in the Valley, but to be able to have them in this kind of medium to come on and talk about what's your story. So as you guys know, we always start with the story. So I want to bring on our guest, Dave Scatchard. Scatch, I don't know. We've got different names. I call you Dave still, but I know I can call you Scatch.
Everybody calls me Scatch. It's okay.
And we met actually on a golf course face to face. I knew who you were, and everyone said, you don't know Scatch. You don't know Scatch. I know who he is, but I don't really know him. So until you and I kind of locked in that day after the Brophy golf tournament. But I want to hear from you. What with your version? What's your story? We always start with that question.
Like my story, my personal.
Whatever you want to start with. You can start with whatever you want.
All right. So, I was a small town kid from Canada. My dad was a coal miner. We had 6,000 people in my town of Hinton, Alberta. I had these crazy dreams of playing in the NHL. And there was nothing to do because everything was frozen. So we learned how to skate, and we'd skate on the ponds and we'd skate on the outdoor rinks. And like, I kind of became obsessed with it. And we had the Edmonton Oilers to watch. So they had Mark Messier and Wayne Gretzky, and they were these young, high-flying teams that were new to the NHL. And I was a kid, just started watching hockey, and my dad never played. Like I said, he worked in the coal mines. And he was a PE teacher before that. But, one brother, one sister. But I had this obsession with trying to figure out how I could make it to the NHL. And like, nobody should have really found me. We played single A hockey. We had one team. There was no tryouts. Like, everybody made the team. And like, it's to go to the places that I ended up going later in my life and my career, and hang out with the people and the rock stars and the movie stars and doing all these incredible adventures. I literally pinch myself sometimes, and I'm like, how did that happen? Like, really? And towards the end of my career, we'll get to that later, but I had a terrible fifth concussion that nearly ended my life. I was unconscious on the ice for 9 minutes. I had a near-death experience. I saw God, and I chose to come back to this world. And when I did, I almost instantly regretted it, meaning I was in so much pain, and I was my brain was just so broken that I couldn't speak properly. I couldn't walk properly. I couldn't exercise. I was in so much pain with these migraines that there was a time where, like, I hate to even say the words, but it's like, it would have been easier just to kind of check out. So I've had these weird low contrast to these high, massive, insane, spectacular events to back down into the tunnel of hell where I feel like my world's ending. And I've slowly had to learn how to rebuild this guy. And what am I about now? Because I don't have an identity. I'm not a hockey player. So what am I? What do I stand for? What matters to me the most? Like, what message, why am I here? And I started on this, like, I was at the Mayo Clinic for 3 years. They couldn't help me. They're like, sorry, you're just permanently disabled. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm 37 years old, 36 years old. Like, I got another 50 years to go, hopefully. I can't live like this. And I started cursing at God and asking him why I'm being punished and all of these things. And I prayed for some miracles. I ended up hiring a life coach because I had all these properties and all these countries, and I had a photographic memory when I was young, and I had no memory when I was like old. So I was worried I was going to blow everything that I just built, this little mini empire. And I hired a life coach, and he ended up being a Tony Robbins coach, but I didn't know Tony. I didn't really do his stuff. I think I did some stuff when I was a young kid on
we all did
one of his tape decks.
Tapes.
But I kind of did it backwards than a lot of people. And then he said, well, if you could get better, what's something that you'd like to do? And I said, I'd love to help kids. I love to help kids, achieve their dreams and goals, but also I'd like to help like anybody who wants to get out of this pain and this suffering. And he goes, well, Tony Robbins has got this leadership program that I think would be really incredible for you. And it's got a lot of psychology and pattern interrupts and removing your limiting beliefs and a lot of stuff that you probably have never really done. And I went down there, and it was so crazy for me that I had trouble being in the room with all those people and lights and people jumping up and down. And so I called my wife the first day.
What the hell is that?
How's Tony? And I found out like halfway through the day that Tony doesn't even do his own leadership program. He has other people teach it for him. So I painfully drove down to San Diego to get down there from Arizona, which is like a 5 or 6 hour drive. And I had to pull over to sleep twice because it was overwhelming for my brain. And I finally get there, and then the guy doesn't even show up for his own event. And I was like so mad. Anyways, by the end of day one, I'm starting to like, some things are kind of starting to, light bulbs are going off, and I'm starting to like question a few things. And I'm like, well, I'm here. I might as well go all in and do all the stupid things, whatever. And I had that over the course of those 3 days, I had some real serious breakthroughs. And I had some messages from God that I was going to heal, and that I was going to go and help others, and I was going to go do all these other things, but I had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And that I wasn't being punished. I was being trained. And that was a complete perspective shift for me, where I'm like, trained for what? Like, what's coming for you? And now, because of the contrast that I've had in my life, these super highs and super lows, no matter where somebody comes to me as a coach now, I can completely relate to them. I know what that feels like when you're hopeless and you're desperate. And I know it when it feels like when you're trying to get to the next level. I know all those feelings and those vibrations and those frequencies. So yeah, I dove into it head first. I was doing only private clients for a while, very successful with pro athletes. And then I helped my first businessman. But the principles that I was teaching my athletes actually worked for him and his business. And I had a little bit of a real estate background, and my head was getting clear, and I was starting to think. And we did a 1031 exchange on one of his big realty properties and saved him a couple million in taxes and stuff. And we flipped him the other way. So he actually ended up with $1.5 million in his jeans instead of being bankrupt again. He went and told everyone else what I did. And then people were banging on my door for like 5 years. Like, I had never marketed like one time.
Yep.
And I was quite successful until COVID happened. And then I felt like God talking to me again, saying that I can't just keep this for the people that are paying me the big bucks. I got to share it with like the world.
Powerful, man.
Yeah.
Real quick. Okay. So what I left Robbins in 01-ish, 2000, 2001. And that coaching model was being built right when I had left. So I knew the model that you went to. When you had told me about it, we were building that whole thing, Leadership Academy with Coach Design. I'm bummed that they didn't tell you about the Tony doesn't show up to the.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I think it was perfect, which it always is. Looking in hindsight, I find a lot of the things that might bother us, or like, this is bad luck, or that wasn't a big deal. But like, when I got traded from Vancouver to New York, I went from this incredible team to this team that was in bankruptcy, that the owner was in jail for fraud, and like the team sucked and all these things. And I'm like, why did I get stuck on the worst team in the NHL? Years later, I got the most ice time. I played the most. I met my wife in New York City. I was a leader and assistant captain on that team. It let me develop as a player, and which would not have happened if I was in Vancouver. We can all look back, we all had that one person, maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're like, oh, I thought she was the one. And then like years later, you're like, thank goodness that didn't work out, right?
It's a sign. I want to, before he answers this, ask the question, I want to make sure that I explain this, because I didn't understand it fully when you and I met. people would say, oh yeah, you know what happened to Scatch at the end of his career? He was going through a lot of stuff. And when I hear that, I'm like, oh, you mean like mental health? Like he was just like, was he depressed? And that's what the first thought I had was mental health. And then I did my homework and I researched it and I read up on you. And then I got to know who you were. And then when he's talking about his brain, he's not talking about his mental health. Like because of the concussions and everything that was happening, you're literally your speech, your body, I mean, your physiology. So I want people to understand that. It wasn't just mental health. That was the byproduct of what was happening physically, right?
Correct. But imagine like you feel like you're like a Lamborghini or Ferrari and you're ripping down the freeway and everything's going great. And then like you have this terrible accident and you're on the side of the road and you have all these gears and you used to be able to use them. And then like nothing works. Ignition's not even starting. And you're just sitting there and everything's going whizzing by you and nobody's helping you. And you're like, what's going on? And that's how it felt to me. And when they did the MRI on my brain, because I was still trying to come back, like somehow possible the way my body was, but my brain's like, oh, we're okay, let's just go
get in there.
And then like they have 6 spots in my brain that are like dark with bleeding and micro-hemorrhaging, and they're like, dude, these should not be in your brain. Like you should be gray, it should not be black, in these spots. So they're like, you've got some serious micro-hemorrhaging in your brain. And I know this is a side note, but like concussions are the worst when they're glancing blows, because the brain actually screw drives itself into the front of the skull or the side of the skull and actually tears pieces as opposed to bumping up against it. Those head-on collisions are actually not bad. You can recover from those, but the shearing causes like the brain damage. So I had a lot of those. It wasn't from fighting. I had around 100 fights over my career, but it was from these dirty or glancing blows where I didn't see somebody, or an elbow or a dirty hit. And it took me almost 4 years to come out of the darkness that I was in. And I could sit here and talk about the contrast, but I feel like I want to talk about some of the things that helped get me out of that.
That's what we want to hear about.
Yeah.
That's what I was
going to ask about. I'm thinking of 2 friends that I have specifically who have crippling repeat migraines over and over and over. And so I'm just sitting here thinking, I wonder what Dave's experience was in the healing process and what can I pass on potentially to them. So talk a little bit about some of the things that you tried, experimented with. I'm sure you went down the rabbit hole as deep as it possibly goes.
I literally traveled around the world, and I have to give Tony a lot of credit. Tony really introduced me to a lot of the most incredible people, investing different monks, shaman, energy workers, coaches, speakers, eaters, healers. And he would be like, Dave, you should meet so-and-so. And I would go and I'd meet and I'd just stroke checks. And I'm like, all right, like, because what am I going to do? Like, if I just keep stuck in this state, I have to, and this is going to lead us to where we're going to go later, but like, I had to find a different frequency, because the frequency that I was vibrating at had no healing energy in it. It had no alignment. I was misaligned. Lost my identity. I had no purpose. The frequency that I was vibrating at would have never healed. And when I did have one of my first miracles, I removed all this armor, okay? Because I would walk around 3 or 4 years later feeling like I'm going to get smoked again, like from like life. A car's going to hit me or something.
Always bracing for impact.
I always felt like I was like hyper. I don't know if that's hypertension. I don't know what it is, but I always felt like something. It was just, I believe that when the accident happened, the brain went from like, oh, let's thrive, to like, whoa, let's survive and let's keep you alive. Like, even if it's barely alive, we're going to keep your heart beating. You're going to keep you breathing. We're probably not going to do a bunch of stuff right now. And I'm like a young man. And I said, something's got to shift. And I started removing this armor and like removing this protection that I had built around myself over my career. And this is a next level advance. And it's not really a 2-minute conversation, but what I teach is, if you look at how many times you've been imprinted on from a parent, from a coach, from a teacher, from a pastor, from a good boy would never do that. Oh, geez, I didn't know. I'm just being a kid, Hey, don't do that. That's rude. Oh, okay, sorry. And you start to turn off all these pieces of yourself. Oh, I put my heart out there and a girl broke it. I'm never going to do that. I'm going to keep a little bit for me just in case, because that almost ended me, right? It broke my heart. So people do this constantly over the course of time, and it stacks up all these layers and all these, it's almost like they become like a cellophane self. It's like another version of themselves that they'll put out there for the world, but the real self is still like protecting itself, which isn't totally authentic. It becomes more inauthentic the more layers of armor that you put around yourself. The problem with that for me is I had so many layers. I moved away from home when I was just 15, turning 16. I was scared. I was homesick. I was severely bullied at school when I was a kid. The first time my dad spanked me is just like jarring because my idol, my dad, you know, was hurting me and I couldn't believe it. And it was for something that I didn't even do, which is like another story. You know, he thought I was lying, you know what I mean? So I'm like, well, if he could do, like, started making me not this like pure, authentic, aligned kid that like I literally spoke to God all the time when I was a little boy and stuff. And I like even I could speak like I had like an invisible friend and stuff. I remember one time my dad was like, "What are you doing? That's stupid. Stop doing that." And like I remember saying like, and who knows what that was, but it was real to me as a kid. And I turned that off and I'm like, hey, his name is Simon. I'm like, Simon, we can't be friends anymore. My dad's very mad. And I don't, and my dad was tough on me. He was like an army dad kind of, he was a coal miner. He was old school. He was fair for the most part, but there was some stuff that was like kind of looking back on it, kind of messed me up a little. So anyways, the point being, I had all this armor on, and what if all of the blessings, all the healing, all the love, all the abundance, everything is trying to get to me, but I have so much protecting me that it can't get to me. And I started ripping off all this armor, like physically, get off me. And I'm like ripping these pieces off. And I could literally feel like chunks of things, beliefs, values, stories, supposed truths, or how to be falling to the ground. And the whole rest of the class is done. This is at leadership.
Yeah.
The whole rest of the class is done, and I'm in the back, and I'm having a freaking meltdown. I'm crying. I got snot bubbles everywhere. The girl trainer comes over. She's like, okay, I'm going to stay with you, but like, you got to stay in this thing. And I'm in my own world.
Wow.
Yeah, it was super intense. I had another story that I was going to weave in the middle of this, but anyways, when I played with the Islanders, we went down to ground zero after 9/11. And we didn't know what we were walking into. Like, it was like a day or two after 9/11. Yeah. And we were going there to support our New York firemen or whatever. And we got a bus that pulls up. And it was so fresh that these guys hadn't slept. They're walking over this rubble. It's so hot, it starts to melt the bottom of my soles. Like, there's shit burning underneath there that it's like, crazy. And these guys, like, their masks are off now. Half these guys have died from cancer and stuff like nowadays. Yeah. And we're there to try to cheer them up. And we walk into this thing and all of us are like, whoa, there's not one word we can say to these guys right now. They are ghosts. Like, their buddies are all dead underneath this building. They're trying to find bodies. It's impossible. Like, they barely found anybody and everybody's just crushed. But when I was removing that armor, it was like this rubble was just stacking up all around me. And I saw this light, the same light that I saw during my near-death experience. And I reached down and I moved some of this armor that I had removed, like the rubble. And I picked up this little boy, this little light, and this little David. And it was me as like a pure vessel, a pure version of myself. I said, like, man, I'm so sorry I had to bury you under all that stuff, but I don't know if you could have gone and done what we just did the last 20 something years, fighting all these monsters and like doing all this stuff. But I go, we're retired now. It's time that we get back on track. And I said, like, I'm scared, but like, you're going to be the leader now because you're the truth, you're the love, you're light. And it was terrifying because to have that much vulnerability after being like that hard or
so long too,
for so long, it's so uncomfortable. And I was so scared that I was going to get crushed by life because I had no armor on. It was the first time that I got back to my authentic self. And instantaneously, the second I locked that into place, it was like,
Oh my, sorry.
I was just like washed and cleansed completely. And some of the pressure behind my right eyeball just like released.
Wow.
And this whole side of my face starts to go purple. And it's draining down my neck like this. And the trainer's freaking out. She thinks I'm having an aneurysm.
She's like, call 911.
Yeah, yeah. And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. I go, something just let go. Like, I don't even know what it was. And I go, but it feels amazing. This side was still locked, but this side was starting to let go. And like, oh, this massive migraine. Like, I felt like an ice pick behind my eye for like 3 years. It starts to like let go. And I'm like, oh, wow. And I just start crying. I go down on my knees and I'm just like so grateful. And I'm like, man, can we do this? Like, can we go into the world like this now? Because it's really vulnerable. But the craziest part is like, I never had more success, happiness, love, money just falling into my lap without doing anything other than staying authentically aligned and tuning into like whatever I was feeling and sharing that. And I'd share these stories with people, and then it would happen to them while I'm sharing it. And like, because if they see me being able to drop my guard, it gives them permission to go ahead and do the same thing. So,
wow, bro,
yeah,
thank you for sharing that, man.
that's like one of like 20 of these things. And it's like, you know, I don't always share them because it take a while to tell, but also I think they're so impactful that it's a crime not to.
Yeah.
And I think that vulnerability, I mean, as a coach, we're both coaches as well. I always say vulnerability is a superpower. Right? I do believe that. It's not just some, Pollyanna reframe. The more vulnerable I've been with people, probably the better rapport I have, the more trust, the more of a like, I feel like I don't know you, but I feel like I know you because we've always been real with each other. There's no BS.
Yeah.
We sit there and talk about life and the issues that we talk about as men, and you do that. How do you harness that now? So that's something that happened. It's a life experience.
Yeah.
Now you take that superpower and you bring it into the coaching. Is that something that's just part of what you do as part of your strategy when you work with people one-to-one? That's not easy stuff, man.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like my favorites are high, up and coming athletes, entrepreneurs, entertainers. I love working with those people because they're kind of self-driven and self-motivated. But because of my story, I find a lot of like really so-called injured, broken, damaged people coming into my world, which I still have a calling to help. And some of my coaches are like, bro, stick with your favorite client, stick with your ideal client avatar,
Make it easy.
da-da-da. And I'm like, I know, but I got like 87 of these people just sitting there going like, can you help me, please? You know what I mean? So I've created some online programs, different things where I can kind of direct them into that are affordable and can get the results. But also whenever I have these in-person masterminds at my home, I've got a beautiful home here in Paradise Valley. It's like, the change is like permanent and visible and like life-changing. And even this morning, I was talking to one of my clients and she said, I helped her with something and I tried this new sort of philosophy that I've been working on. We'll talk about that in a second, but she goes, those 3 days that you changed my life, but the last 30 minutes you just shared with me took it up like another like 2 or 3 levels. And she goes, and I said, it's kind of like when I'm downloading and when I'm like tuned in with my frequency, I will speak on stage at my own events for hours with 3 bullet points or 4 bullet points, and I'll feel the room. I'll read the room. I'll do interventions with people, and like I just know what they need at that time, whether it's a story or a system or a lesson or whatever. But also, what I'm realizing is that when people get in my frequency and I'm tuned in, right? If I'm lazy and I'm not doing my work, I vibrate much lower. But if I'm tuned in at my higher frequency, I can actually lift people up a level or two where they can start to feel and see things differently than they've ever seen them before. And it's something I'm really playing with. Like currently today, I started to create a new 10-module meditation course based on frequencies and harmonics. And literally, I had the whole outline before I even came here today, but it was like gifted to me. And I'm just like writing as fast as I can. This has happened to me so many times. So even when I feel like, okay, I'm going to slow down the coaching, or I'm going to like enjoy life, or I'm going to do whatever, God's like, hey, buddy, we need you. You're gonna always be hungry and feel like you're not doing enough, and you're always going to be needed. So you're not, I will never retire.
Yeah.
I will, but I will also like play with it and try different things, live events, online programs, one-on-one coaching, group coaching. And I'm playing around trying to figure out the perfect mix to help the most people, but also for me to have fun and enjoy doing it. But it can be like all consuming, as you know, when you take care of that.
One thing that I struggle with, and I relate to your story a ton, and I don't want to hog the mic, but I have very similar experiences actually.
Yeah.
Is that joy that you get from being tuned in like that.
Yeah.
And then an even larger joy, I bet, in being able to help somebody else find that.
Yeah.
That to me becomes a high.
Yeah.
It's like a drug.
Yeah.
And it's addicting.
Yeah.
And I want to stay there.
Yeah.
And when I'm not there,
Mm-hmm.
something feels wrong.
Yeah.
And something feels off. And I don't want to be there.
Yes.
Right. And it's almost like a little bit of bipolar in a way, because you're experiencing, at least in my experience, I'm at the highest of high.
Yes.
I'm doing my life's purpose right now. This moment is exactly where I'm supposed to be. The impact is massive.
Yes.
And then I come way down and I'm like, what am I doing the dishes for?
Right.
Or whatever some annoying thing is that's going on, some disruption. It's like, I shouldn't be here. And I struggle with ping-ponging back and forth. Yeah. So my question becomes, is that a normal experience in your mind? And how do you accept that up and down nature of it?
So there's three things. So number one, if you're called, you will always be hungry. You won't ever feel comfortable.
Yep.
Because you're chosen.
Believe that 100%.
Thank God you're hungry.
Yep.
Because we need you. Right. Number two, this is actually Donnie Epstein, one of Tony's guys, taught me this. He's like, there's energy poor, there's energy neutral, there's energy rich, and energy super rich. If I'm energy neutral, I can pull a poor guy up like half a step. If I'm energy rich, I can pull him up a full step. If I'm super rich, I can pull them up 2 steps just by being in my field. I've asked my one-on-one clients, you could hire anybody. You could, for what I charge, you could hire Tony, you could hire whatever. Not Tony, but a lot of people, yeah. Right? I'm not cheap, but I'm good. And I believe that I'm one of the best. And it's like, why do people not, they don't do 1 year and then like they're flying and they keep hiring me back. And they're like, you're the best investment that I've ever made. Yep. And they're like, every single time that I'm in your energy, like things open up. Like I get an idea, or you give me a concept, or I just feel like good in your energy. So, but like as a marketer, like how do I sell that? Right? Great energy. Come hired. Yeah. But if somebody comes to an event, they're like, I'm all in. Like, what are you doing? I'm all in. And I've continually surveyed my clients and been like, what was it? Was it this? Was it the system? Was it this? And they're like, no, it's like the energy of the group, the energy, the vibe, you know? So, which brings us to kind of current day. Yeah. Okay. I have been hooked in this last week, looking and dissecting on some of my most successful case studies of all my clients. We took one client from 650,000 to 6.5 million in 4 years. I'm like, well, what did we do with him? And a lot of it was trying to get more authentic, trying to remove some of the armor and the mask that are blocking the flow, right? Yeah. But also to raise this frequency in different ways where, and I do this example at one of my events. So I'll crouch down behind a table and I'll say, what do you think that somebody with this level of frequency can see? Well, I can see the leg of the table or the curtain or whatever's there, but can they see the watch or the phone or the water or anything on top of that? No, but I can coach them and be like, oh, you guys do this. And they're like, dude, I don't even see that. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Yeah.
What are you talking about? Frequency or harmonics or vibration? I don't get it, right? So it's as I can raise their level, they start to see all these things and be like, holy smokes, like, I see what you're talking about now. I can feel it, right? So how do you package that like as a coach? And I started really thinking, what if it wasn't all the systems? And we talked about this just a second ago, but I could give you the winning blueprint to your business or your life or your health or your love
Yeah, but
whatever.
But I take the book, but I don't have the frequency.
And you can't even process what's in there because your frequency is so low.
Right.
But what if I raise your frequency, raise your vibration, get you tuned in, get your antenna up where you're tuning into the energetic field and you're getting downloads, you're getting data, you're able to start mapping things out and seeing things from a different level. And I go, hey, check this out.
Now I'm ready. Yeah. I see things completely different.
Thank you. It's a completely different vibration. Yeah. So we've all had clients that didn't do anything, right, with us. And you're like, dude, I laid it out on a blueprint. Like
I wrote a book.
A child could follow this. But for that person, where they're at in this point of their life, it's not about the system in any way. It's completely about the frequency and the vibrational field that they're tuning into. That's such a smaller one that can't access anything in here. So why would we start with this, which most of us do, ram it down people's throats? Hey, this is the winning blueprint. We've all bought the programs online and we either don't finish them or we don't use them or they don't work. It's not the programs. Programs are actually pretty good, some of them. It's us. So what if my job is nothing more than to pay attention and tune in my frequency every single day? Mine started at 4 o'clock this morning. And today I took it to another level. I literally made a checklist of all of the things that I feel like absolutely tune me up to like no other. There's a workout in there. There's hydration in there. There's some supplements in there. There's meditation. There's visualization. There's gratitude. It took me a couple hours to do this today. But I had a couple showings on my home the other day, and I've been trying to sell this big 10,000 foot house for a while. And the markets have been a little weird lately and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving nothing to chance. If I just show up and hope I get the offer or whatever, it's 50-50. What if I make my field so big that I'm just humming, right? So I do this. The second that I'm done, I check the last box of the day. Okay, good job. And it was authentic. I wasn't rushing through it. I was really sitting in it. I was visualizing. I read affirmations about selling my house, 50 of them, right? The buyer is so excited to get into my beautiful home, and I'm so excited to sell it to them. It's a win-win transaction. The second that I get done that, the ring. Hey, Skatch, we got an offer. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. True story. I can show you the text message.
I believe you.
So why do we run around trying to do all these other things when actually, what if we create our own field? What if we're co-creators in our life, or we are the creator of our life, right? Us and God, or if God lives in us, or if we're a child of God, or whatever you believe, it doesn't matter, universe, whatever words you want to use. But what if we can broadcast this world and every single thing that comes into our field is because of us? And it's a reflection of what's going on inside of us. And what if we have an angry person that keeps showing up, this asshole? Well, maybe there's a part of me that needs to express my anger because I'm Mr. Good Guy or nice guy all the time and stuff. And like, that's a piece of me. That's a color of my rainbow. That's a complete piece of my spectrum. So why on earth would I mute that and say, well, a good boy would never be mean? I'd never snap or be frustrated or be an asshole. Sometimes I want to be one. I don't have to take it out on somebody. If I could go scream or hit a punching bag or like rage a little bit and get it out of my system. And then I'm balanced. And then I'm tuned in again. And I'm like, all right, send me some data. What are we doing today? What's the most important? Where's the money at? Where's the client at? Who needs help? Right? Where do I need to show up at? And if I dial myself in every day, there is no chance that I'm not going to win. And I experimented with this at the World Series of Poker this year. I literally had days where I did absolutely nothing and my results were mediocre. And there were days when I did my whole routine and I cashed 5 out of 8 tournaments this year. And it's like, it's about, I seem to be luckier. Yeah. I seem to get the front row parking. I seem to be in flow and glide 100% more when I'm like purposely doing it.
But why don't we stay in it though? That's my struggle. Like when I get in flow,
I think most people don't realize when they're dipping or building in a check balance type of deal. Trust me, like I'm so high right now, that I'm gonna be buzzing till my kid's hockey practice is done at 10 o'clock. But there are times when I wouldn't do as heavy as I went today. I would do some.
Yeah.
But then I need to reset after like a couple coaching calls or something. I'm like, oh man, okay, I got to reload. And I would go through some of my processes and some of my energy exercises and some of my meditations.
That reload part is the key part.
Guys, I think
because we can be at a high and then we have to do a couple things and then drain us.
100%.
And most of us, once we get drained, we're like, oh shit, I got 5 other things I have to do. And we don't have that pause to
100%.
reload, re-energize.
Especially being givers, you have people drinking from you like all the time.
All the time, and you don't want to say no to somebody.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're like, I got nothing left.
That's tough. You're right. I mean, and especially when you have cell phones and I mean, you have people, you and I have been sitting here for an hour. How many texts do you think we all have if we turn our phones on?
I don't even want
countless. Yeah. And it's people that want something or need something. They want our energy. And that's what makes us want it more because we thrive off it. But it's tough, man. No, but to hear that you went through this, by the way, that story is incredible. But now you have a vision, right? That visualization of it. And now you can share that story with other people because people are going to have their own visual of what it might be. Like you can see us describing it. He's got this armor. Like I know what he means. I wouldn't be called mine armor. It's something different visually, but you have that to be able to give to someone else because no matter what it is, everyone has an effing thing that they got to pull back and say, quit being that cellophane self, be your authentic self, rise to a high level of frequency, stay in flow and see what happens. It's tough, but we keep doing it. And that's our story.
It's almost like when you see the reward that you want to do it every day. And I literally was writing down, I play poker as a hobby, but I'm pretty good at it and stuff. So I've just been popping into the casino just recently and I'm just tracking based off of my vibrational level. And for this week, for example, I think I had 5 wins and 1 loss. The only loss that I had was the day where I skipped out on a few things because I was busy.
Like mental note, shouldn't have gone in that day.
But I wrote it down, right? And I wasn't all in and I didn't even really want to play. I was just kind of testing it out, like scientifically. Honestly, it sounds funny when you're talking about that. But it's like, man.
Looking back, can you think of hockey games where you're like
100%?
Oh, I had a hat trick this day. I was 100%. Tuned in. I played like
I wrote about it in my book. Yeah, the comeback, my journey through heaven and hell, which you can get on Amazon.
Yeah, it's great.
In that book, I talk about 2 hat tricks. I had 2 hat tricks in a month, and I felt like every time I was on the ice, I was going to score. And I was never the first line guy or the second line power play. Like I was like third line, fourth line guy. Like for whatever reason. I started off as kind of fighting a lot, and then I worked into my skills and got them better, but I never really got the breaks that some of the superstars did. But 2 hat tricks for a guy like me, that was pretty great. And I led the team in goals that year. I had 27 goals in NHL. I was going to score every single game. But me and this kid named Jason Blake, he was an underdog. He was the hardest working guy on the ice along with me. And we just pushed each other. And together, our frequencies were just so much higher than the rest of the team the whole year long. Same year, I had a bonus for 20 goals. And this guy named Marius Yurkowski, he had a bonus for 35 goals. And the team was terrible. So we were playing great, him and I, but the rest of the team wasn't very good. And he's like, hey, me and you, we're going to get our bonuses and we're going to go down to Miami and South Beach and we're just going to go crazy. But we're pushing each other. You better get your bonus. Otherwise, we both have to get the bonus. Otherwise, we don't go, right?
Purpose.
So, all right. And man, all year long, we push each other. This is a funny story. I think about it in the book. I got my bonus. I got my 20th and the 21st with 3 or 4 games left to go. So I got my job done. And he needed 2 of the last game. And I think we were playing the Philadelphia Flyers or something. And we're out of playoffs. We're not going to playoffs. Yeah. I think we even lose the game, okay? But he scores his second goal, and he's got like $150,000 bonus. The team jumps on the ice like we won the Stanley Cup. We're throwing our gloves.
Fans are like, what the hell?
Like, what are you guys doing?
Fired up about?
You lost the game. Well, we made it fun, and we brought each other into each other's fields. I hear stories of Michael Jordan where he used to grab guys and bring them into his field and challenge them. Right? And things like that. So I've never really given it as much credit as right now today as how I'm feeling. I showed up here today and I'm working on something. It's really
I could tell.
And I'm buzzing about it because it makes all the sense. And I've had my clients testing it. And look, let's break down your habits, your routines. What gets you fired up? what are your best days you've ever had? What are the things that you do? What are you thinking? How are you eating? Right? If I'm eating cleaner, if I'm drinking water, if I'm not drinking alcohol, and I'm just like focused and I'm locked in, I'm getting my rest, and I'm doing my stuff to raise my frequency. Like, I believe that like I'm unstoppable, but I'm also like creating everything around me from a higher place. Some low shelf crap. Higher level people, higher level interviews, higher level clients are finding me. I'm getting offers on my home, like you name it. I'm bringing this in. I'm in charge. I'm not a passenger or a victim in this world. And I think so many people give themselves like that blame, or they give themselves a label that somebody gave them. Oh, I'm ADD.
Escape.
Like Mayo Clinic, Dave, you're permanently disabled. If I would have paused life right there and said, these are the smartest doctors in the world.
Yep. I'm tapping out.
They don't make a mistake.
You wouldn't be here right now.
I'm so unlucky.
Yeah. Dude.
Oh man, I was cruising until, right?
All right. So we're going to wrap up. We're going to finish with a couple things you're working on. 2 questions, simple ones, hopefully. The most badass, disciplined guy, you're like, okay, this guy plays a whole different level, surprise us or not. And the second question is toughest, like guy you wouldn't want to mess with. Cause I know you fought, man. You throw it down. Toughest, first was badass, as in like discipline, the guy you looked at and said, this guy's got it. And badass guy you want to mess with. Who you got?
Most disciplined. I think Connor McDavid, from what I've heard, I don't know him personally, but I just heard he's just a robot. He is like an absolute, all he cares about is hockey. He doesn't really let himself have fun unless he wins. He's so serious. He's calling the coaches in the middle of summer, talking about power play breakouts and things. He's like on all the time, which is a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it's probably why he's one of the most skilled players in the world. Okay. I don't know him personally, but I've just heard he's
stories.
The most dedicated, guy ever. As far as toughest, I've got 2 versions of it. One guy I didn't really want to fight was Ty Domi. And he's with the Toronto Maple Leafs and stuff and Rangers. But I saw him get punched in the face by Bob Probert, who's probably the toughest guy that ever play, or one of them. And nothing happened to the guy. So he takes like 5 big shots, and he's this little, like, he's just stocky and he's shorter, but he's got long arms. And he's got great balance and he's strong. But I'm like, well, if Proby can punch him 10 times, nothing happens. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? So like, there were a couple times where it looked like we might fight and stuff. And I almost never said no to a fight. I would fight almost anybody. I only remember saying no really to Ty. And I fought one of his other tough teammates, 2 seconds later. But so Ty, I was like a little cautious of, because I'm like, well, if I win, I don't really win because he's going to want to fight me next game. And
what's the point?
If I lose, I'm supposed to lose, but whatever. So it didn't seem like a win any way I looked at it, right? So Ty, I was always cautious of. But one of the toughest things I ever saw, dear friend of mine, and he ended up having, it's a bad ending to the story, but he ended up having really bad concussions, had to retire from hockey. Adam Deadmarsh, I played junior with him. He's from a town in British Columbia near mine, a few hours away, in Trail. But he got drilled by this guy we were playing in Victoria, Canada, in junior. And he's like 17 or 18, and I'm like 16 or 17. And he gets smoked, and he's knocked out cold. Refs get him off, and he comes to the bench, and the trainers, and he's got like no gloves, no stick, and he's obviously concussed. And I go, don't worry. We call him Piggy. I go, don't worry, Piggy. I'll go get him. I was going to go fight this guy to stick up for my teammate. And he's okay. Just tell me when he's out. Like, his eyes are all crossed and buggy and everything like this. And I go to jump out to go fight this guy to protect my teammate. And I feel his hand on the back of my jersey throw me down into the bench. So my feet go up over. I got my skates on, and he jumps out onto the ice with no gloves, no helmet, no stick. It goes to center ice, and he's like, let's go. The same guy that elbowed him and knocked him out. It's like, oh no. So he goes to center ice, and he goes to fight him. Piggy just beats the living crap out of him. The guy's like on the ground. He's just pummeling him. And Adam Deadmarsh, Piggy, doesn't even go to the penalty box. He just skates back to the bench and goes in the dressing room because he knew his head was like
done for the day.
Wow.
But that was one of the toughest things I've ever seen. He goes out there with no equipment, and he's just like, let's go.
I've always said, man, my respect for hockey players is not only are they badass athletes, but they do it on a freaking piece of skate that's like that. And these guys can fight and do all these things. That's incredible. All right. We always end with things you're working on. And oh, by the way, what you're wearing, I know that we're all in the same space. This is the world. He's a coach, man. So All-Star Coaching. Tell us about what you're working on.
Yeah. So we've got a couple live events, dates to be determined, but I'm going to do one out of my home and then one at a hotel. Oh, we've got some cool upcoming things happening in the very near future, the next like 3 months. And then my book, The Comeback, My Journey Through Heaven and Hell, you can find that on Amazon. I do have like a free plus shipping offer on my Instagram account at Dave Scatchard. So if people want to go on there, you just got to pay for the shipping. I'll pay for the book. And I also do free challenges and stuff. So follow me on Instagram and I'll show you guys when I'm doing some free trainings. And I don't hold back on those. I try to give as much as I can. And usually this is another thing is like when I've done the free stuff, I did it not as a money maker originally. And I couldn't believe the response because I gave and gave and gave. Yep. And then people are like, whoa, how do we keep going? And I didn't have an offer. Like I swear to God.
Dude, I better figure one out.
I had 23,000 people come through during COVID and I didn't even have an offer. And I'm okay, well, and I just made up an offer and we had 100 people or something sign up for whatever we did. So it was pretty incredible. And I was honestly doing it from the goodness of my heart. And I feel in life when we do that, it comes back. It does, never feel like you should. If you're expecting it, I don't think it comes. I think if you do it like truly out of the kindness of your heart, magic happens and it comes back eventually. And I've had on those free challenges, I've had heavyweight champions of the world, boxing, somehow found my ad, right? I had hockey players, I had Olympic gold medalists, and I would bring them out. I'd be, has anybody done anything like at a really cool high level? And it's like, oh, I want a gold medal.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. I'm a world champion boxer. Yeah. I'm like, what? How are you on this challenge? You know what I mean? And I would do 7 days. It wasn't like a 1-day thing, but it was magical what the field and the universe created during one of the weirdest, most divisive times in history. So.
Well, it's great to talk to another servant leader and be able to contribute and give like this. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. It means a lot to us. Another episode in the can. Wow, Scott, I get emotional, man. And I don't know what it is about that damn chair. I'm telling you, I start feeling people's stories and it gets me going.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this one again.
Yeah, me too. So thanks for everybody for joining us on this episode. I'm Mike Lindstrom, my man, Scott Leese, and we'll catch you on the next episode.